Victoria. We're coming to you live from Haus of Owl, Victoria's co-working club for creators in downtown Victoria, which is located on the unceded and ancestral territories of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples. Deep bow, deep respect, deep love to the original caretakers of these lands. My name is Jordan Dack, writer, songwriter, producer, and all-around creative troublemaker, and your host into this deep dive into the creative process, Creative or Die. I am sitting here with a dynamic duo, power couple, powerhouse in the Victoria film composition composers world. These two people, I've known them for a while now, and they're the kind of people who they work so hard, and they're always working so hard, creating magic, that I don't often get a chance to really dig into a conversation with them and find out what's going on behind that door. So I'm so excited to be sitting here with you guys. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, great. We're very happy to be here, and so great that we're part of your series.
Yeah,
so we really
awesome.
Appreciate that. How about you, Jack?
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Oh, it is absolutely my pleasure. So we're going to dive right in. What we're going to do is I'm going to share a few statements. Some are true, some are false. And your job is just to let us know, myself and the viewers, which are true and which are false. You're also welcome to add some context at any point if you want to share a bit about it. All right?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Let's do this. Okay. True or false? Jackie is a graduate of the Amsterdam Conservatory in piano performance.
That is true.
That is true. Okay. All done.
Yeah. 1998 to 2002, I went to Amsterdam. Erik suggested that I try out for the Amsterdam Conservatory.
Mm-hmm.
We actually met at the Banff Center the year before, and I went to Amsterdam and tried out. I was looking for a place to continue my studies, and yeah, I got to go there. It was an amazing experience.
Very cool. Okay, moving right along then. True or false, Erik composes exclusively on kazoo before handing the melody off to a full orchestra.
That would be something, I suppose, but I'm afraid it's false.
That one's false.
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't see that one coming. Okay.
It could have been my saxophone, I suppose, but even that would be a bit awkward. So my main instrument is really the saxophone.
Okay.
And so that could have maybe worked, but not really. I think for film composing, or at least we, if I may be so fair, we usually think of starting our scores from piano. That is most of the time how we start things out. There might be some melodies floating in my head that I could be whistling or singing or what have you, but initially it's usually finding things on the piano, where we want to go with things. That's the easiest instrument probably to get started with. Even though I'm not really, I mean, she's the pianist. I'm not really the pianist, but just finding the things that could be helpful for the score later on.
And we'll dive into the creative process a bit more in a moment, but in a songwriting world, I'm always surprised to hear how many songwriters, regardless of the instrument that the song ends up on, oftentimes it starts on piano, but it also starts on ukulele. And I'm wondering, are there any other instruments that aren't necessarily in your wheelhouse where you have started a project on that surprises you?
I think often we start mostly the piano, but often it can be just like whatever's in the sound world. A synthesizer or something can start off something, and sometimes, well, really anything, or a percussion beat.
Right.
Can start off an idea, and then the idea builds onto something else. So it's not always that you just start with a piano.
Yeah.
Can I feel something on that?
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I guess also part of our setup is we work with MIDI keyboards. So the keyboard idea is there already, and it does not necessarily have to be the piano sound. It could be something else.
Right.
It could be a ukulele in that sense too. It's just that neither one of us is guitar or ukulele based, where we don't really have that competence on those instruments. So, and I know a lot of composers do. They are guitarists or ukulele players.
Right.
And so that's not where our
so
strength
physically
is,
speaking, we're sitting at the keys, and that's okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. True or false, Jackie and Erik are married and run their composing studio, Oak Bay Studios, together?
That is true.
That is true.
Have anything to say about it?
No, it's just the way it is. Sometimes people are wondering because we use our last names, use your original last name, Perriam, and my last name is Abbink, and then they're not sure when they don't know us well enough. They're not sure.
Yeah.
And then more recently, we started often just telling them up front. It's like, yeah, no, we're really a couple as well.
We are actually
Yeah,
a couple.
yeah.
And actually, you just said your names out loud, and it just struck me that I don't think I've said your names out loud in this interview. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd love to introduce Jackie Perriam and Erik Abbink, right?
That's correct.
Is those pronunciations bang on? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, now let's get back to it. Okay, true or false, you have a cat.
We do. We do. We have 2 cats.
The statement wasn't that, but it involves a cat, so I just wanted to make sure that there were cats. Okay. Your cats hold an official executive feline producer credit on 3 Hallmark films? Is this?
What?
Okay, I think that's false then. Okay, moving right along.
Yeah, that's
not true.
That's not true.
It's just not true at all.
Would have been great, but no.
Okay.
That didn't happen.
Now this one, Jackie and Erik won a Leo Award for Best Musical Score in a Documentary Series for their work on visionary gardeners.
That's true, right?
That is
Yeah, that's very
true.
true. Yeah, we're very proud of that too.
Yeah.
That was our first time that we realized that it wasn't only us liking to score, but that others appreciated it as well. So that gave a lot of sort of confirmation that we were on the right path, for sure.
And that was our first professional project that we did. The producer, the producer gave us 1 episode to score to sort of try us out, I think. There were multiple composers doing the other episodes. And we won a Leo Award with that episode, which was really exciting. And actually, we're going to the Leo Awards next week again because we got nominated for the Ageless Gardens series.
Well done.
There's another crack at it.
Okay, congratulations. Yeah. You said that when you received the Leo Award, it was good to know that other people were feeling positively about the work you were doing. Without that, was it difficult, or can it be difficult to know how people are feeling about your work in this line of work? I mean, you get a ton of feedback, I'm sure, from the producers, and is it just because of the nature of the work? Does it tend to lean towards more constructive criticism than praise?
I'd say yes. I think, well, maybe not so much criticism, but there's also not always the feeling that their producers' feedback is overly positive all the time. What was it? Well, it depends. Yeah, that's true. But I think
we work together with the producer until we get what they like.
Right.
And then at the end, they're usually happy, and then they move on.
For sure, but a lot of the time it's like, okay, it works, let's move on.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, you did this great thing for our show. I'm so amazed. That doesn't happen all the time.
They don't sing a song and give a standing ovation? Or
No. It's just moving on, right?
Right. Usually we're part of the process, and then.
And I guess at the end of the day, I mean, even if the producer or someone who's involved in the process gives you positive feedback, at the end of the day, you're in a style of art that if it's working really well, people aren't necessarily noticing it. Like, they are noticing the sum of the parts and going, wow, I love this show, I love this scene. But you're there to sort of emphasize or support something that's going on rather than be the main focus, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I think maybe when it is a good score, that's when people are just drawn into the movie and not so much listening for the score. Maybe if they notice it, maybe that's not such a good thing.
I think a lot of what we do is in the background. There are moments where the music can come to the foreground, but a lot of the time the background is what is where our parts live. It's kind of under the surface a little bit. A lot of the time people don't really notice the music all that much. But if you can still put that emotion in, then you're on the right track.
I was going to say, you don't notice the music until it's gone. And then it's like, where did the emotion go? Where did the dynamic and the engagement go? You know, it's, yeah. Okay, we'll ask you just one, maybe two more, because I've got about 100 other questions that just popped into my head. So, Erik, do you hold a doctorate in music performance?
Yeah, that is correct. Yes. Wow. So music performance was really my first love when it came to music. It's where playing my instrument, it'd be clarinet early on, and then saxophone later on, was where I spent most of my time. And so things kind of switched over time a little bit to more and more composing, and that's where I spent now most of my time, and I do still a little bit of performance on the side. Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah. Thanks.
Jackie, did you audition for a death metal band but was turned down for refusing a headbang during your solo?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that definitely happened.
No, that is definitely false.
I know that you have a long history as a pianist, and I assume a love for classical music.
Yeah.
When you're not listening to classical music, what do you listen to?
Ooh, I listen to a lot of different things. I like a lot of the music, the pop music, like from the 90s and from the 80s even to, I listen to Sting a lot. I like different types of music. I like jazz. What else do I listen to, Erik? And I listen to, of course, quite a bit of classical music. I have my favorite of classical music, Brahms and Bach. And,
No death metal.
No death metal, but we do also really enjoy in the film, as part of the film composing, that we constantly are pushed into different directions depending on what the project asks for. So I would love to do death metal, or what is it? Actually, I was for a little while, I was a fan of Slayer. Yeah. And so sometimes you just get into weird ways, and which is a really fun part of our job, don't you think?
Right. It's really nice to combine all these different types of music. Take our classical, but then combine it with something completely different. And
Okay, one last thing, and then I've got questions. Okay, true or false? Your film and TV scores have aired on Lifetime, Paramount, TF1 in France, Channel 5 in the UK, and Up TV.
Yep.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, let's get into this, because because this world that you guys are in is super interesting to me, and I kind of want to know everything about it. But I think before we dive deep, could you just give sort of a top-level summary of what you guys do? You know, what does it mean to compose for film and TV? So that everything else that I ask has context to land in.
So what does it mean, or
what does it look like?
What does it look like? Okay. A little bit about the outside process of it all, or?
Yeah, I mean, imagine there's somebody at home right now thinking, oh, what do you mean? Don't you just push the music button and there's music, you know? Yeah.
Good question. All right. So first of all, we work with film. Our film is so much part of what we do that usually we wait for the film to come to us, and then the process starts. And usually both of us compose behind the computer, and so it's all essentially done within that box. We have our keyboard ready to go with instruments, with what are called sample libraries. So sampled instruments, this could be a violin or a guitar or whatever it is, and then we play it in our keyboard, and we make something out of it that makes sense, that goes with that film, or whatever the director or producer has asked for. Then we mix it also at the same time, best we can. So we're not just the composer, we're also the mixer and do some of the mastering. And then we send it back to a producer, and the producer will listen for it and see if they like what we've done. If not, we get some notes back. But eventually, it will go to a post-production house, and that post-production house will do the final little bits to make it fit with the film.
Great.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a great summary. Okay.
Great.
Now, let's go from like top level to nitty-gritty right away. What DAW do you guys use, Aubrey?
Cubase.
Cubase is the way. And is that pretty standard for this industry, for for film composing?
Want me to answer?
Yeah, I want
Well,
you to answer.
I think so. Cubase, Logic are kind of the leaders, I think. There are several other ones, but yes, Cubase is definitely in one of the leaders.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of plugins and sounds and soft synths and whatnot, do you find that library is always constantly in a state of growth and you're always adding new sounds to your library?
We try to get a new library each time we do a new project.
Oh,
and then we really try to get to know that just so that we keep keep current and really, and yeah.
Yeah, and it usually
That's very
works out.
interesting.
Sometimes we don't use it as much as we'd hoped
Yeah,
because
that's true.
you don't know too much about the library until you start working with it.
Yeah, of course.
And so some are more of a hit than others, but yeah, generally speaking, we have some added inspiration from that new instrument that we buy, and then it's kind of neat working that way.
And I mean, you must have certain sounds that have become your favorites of different libraries, eh? And although I'm sure there's times when you don't want to lean on them or bring them out too often for new projects, do you find yourself gravitating towards them? Yes.
Maybe talk a little bit about the templates, if you want to.
Oh yeah. Yeah, workflow.
What do you want me to say? So what instruments we use?
No, I was thinking, I can do that too, but I was thinking we usually have quite a big template of instruments that we can choose from. So the DAW does that really well. Every track can be a different instrument. So this could be violin, viola, cello, but it could also be any kind of synthesizer that you have as a soft synth. So, and then from those we pick, but that template is quite large and we only use a handful of instruments usually for each project.
Okay.
And so for the project, we try to adapt to the sound. Yes, there are definitely sounds in there that you will find across multiple projects, but then other ones are just more picked for that particular idea that we had for that particular, either it being a documentary or a thriller or what have you.
Yeah, very cool.
We'll have a certain library, like say for the lifetime thrillers that we do, we'll have a certain library that we use a lot, but then we pick from that library the different sounds and we manipulate them until we get the right sound for that particular movie.
Yes, yeah.
So we tend to use a lot of the same libraries.
That's true.
But we manipulate them for that
gotcha.
particular project. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. And okay, so here we have two classically trained musicians. Did you guys think, like 20 years ago, that you guys would be here composing for film and TV?
No.
No.
No, the idea came to us when a friend was going to film school, he wanted to be a producer and director, and he made his first film and wanted to show it to us, and also wanted our opinion on what to do with the music, because he was at the final stages of it. And we thought, well, how does that work? So you work with a film composer? Oh, okay. And he said, yeah, I've got some samples here. Maybe you can help me pick these samples that he's sent. And that planted a seed in our heads.
Wait a second.
And we thought about it for a few months and then thought, well, maybe we should try some courses. And we thought
when
it
was
was really
this?
exciting. This was 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
This was... Yeah, almost exactly 10 years ago. I was saying to Erik, it was exactly 10 years ago in the summer, beginning of the summer, that we started our courses with Berkeley. And so we took some of those and we really enjoyed it. Like we just thought, wow, this is so cool.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what happened after that? So those seeds planted. What was the next step on this journey?
Finding projects to compose for. So, finding people who are making movies. And you can starting off with small projects usually, just passion projects, I suppose, and just getting your hands on these films and trying to make the most of it. And that's a very creative process. It's also really hard at the beginning because, you still got to learn a lot of things. And probably the other filmmakers too got to learn a lot of things. So you're kind of at a disadvantage in many ways when you're starting to do that. So it takes a little bit of extra effort to then move forward with it. But it's the best way to learn it, to just be on the job and
Right.
get talking to other people. What are they looking? What is the music what they want to hear? And then trying to find your way in what they're looking for. Because they're not really looking for your music. They're looking for music that fits that film. And those are not necessarily the same thing. In fact, at the beginning, they're not the same thing at all.
Right.
Because as a film composer, when you're just starting out, you don't really know how to go about that. That takes time. It takes several years before you get into the swing of that. At least that's what we found. Yeah.
So how do you go about it?
Well, with
Like, I mean, like, boil down all your wisdom from the last 10 years, and how does someone do it? Like, what are the steps, do you think?
Well, we first get the movie, and we watch it several times, and we talk it over, and try and figure out between the two of us what we think would be a good sound palette. So it's sort of like painting, and you're picking your colors. Well, we're picking our instruments and picking the sort of the style of music that we think would best fit. But then we have a conversation with the producer, and obviously they are in charge and they have their ideas. And talk that over.
Yeah, and the other part of it is, I think, is the genres and maybe even the TV channel that you're writing for, because they also make a big impact on how you're going to compose. So if it's a thriller, obviously it's going to sound different than a garden series, which we both do, and so they're completely different worlds, and so you have to work with that. You can't just, you can't switch up those music. It just won't work. You can imagine that part, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Do you ever find yourself having to choose between trying to write music that you think would work best for the film versus make music that the producer will like the most? Or are they always the same thing? Did that make sense?
Oh yeah. I'm trying to think about. Do you have a good answer for that? I think. Go ahead.
Well, one thing is that we tend to work with the same producers. Once we've done a few and they like it, then we work with them again and again, and we get to know what they like, so we get to know them. So, yeah, we know what they like and don't like, and what we'll do.
Yeah, well, in which way they overlap. I think ideally you want them to overlap, right?
That's
you want them to be the same thing. So the aim is to do both. To know what their vision is and the music that they're looking for, and at the same time make it your own piece. Yeah. It's in that sense maybe not all that different from acting. I mean, you get pushed into a role as an actor, maybe whatever that role may be. You might be the criminal, and maybe you don't really like playing the criminal, but you will find, as an actor, you probably will find a way so that it will come across that you really are that actor. And I guess our music works that way too. It is whatever is needed, and you're trying to find it. So it's a bit of a curiosity or the extra effort you need to do to get a grip on what they're looking for. And I mean, I'm already getting excited talking about it, because I think that is the exciting part of it. What are they looking for? How can we get there?
Okay.
Yeah.
And often they want to hear the first 10, 15 minutes right as soon as you're finished it. You send it to them, and then we'll go back and forth until we get what they're looking for, and then the rest of it tends to flow after that.
Okay, so the first 10 to 15 minutes of a scene or a film or a show? Or
like the first act of a movie, that's in a movie.
Okay, so they want to make sure that everyone's on the same page in terms of the direction and vision, and then once you're there, then they'll get a little more hands-off on the project? Yeah. Okay. Super cool. Okay, and I mean, composing for a gardening show and composing for a thriller, is it difficult to jump between these? Have you ever had to do both of these sorts of projects at the same time? Is that a difficult process to jump, or is it?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think it's just a different style is being used, but in many ways it's the same process. It's just what are they looking for? How can we deliver what they're looking for, and how can we make it the most fun music that we can write at that moment, given the time that we have to write it for. Usually there's, for a thriller, it might be a short time. It might be 3, 4, 5 weeks. For a garden series, it usually is quite a bit more time. If we have more time, we can play around more, I guess. And when it's less time, we have to make sure we progress on time.
Yeah, I mean, speaking about time, I've walking by your guys' studios, sometimes I'll think I'm the last one here, and then I'll see that you guys are here. Then I'll think I'm the first one there in the morning, and sometimes you guys are beating me in the morning too. So the timelines that these projects are on, is it like all the other film industry timelines? They're always unrealistic?
Yes, most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time.
We get usually between 2 and 4 weeks to score a movie, a TV movie. So
wow.
2 weeks is getting a little tight.
Like from the moment that you're introduced to the...
From the time we get the locked picture.
Yeah.
And that's where we're usually starting from. However, if we know that the timeline's going to be really short, then sometimes we ask for an earlier version of the movie.
Right.
And sometimes
to get the feel for it and get your libraries ready.
Yeah, there was one time that we only ended up with 8 days to score a movie, and we actually asked for earlier versions, and we just started writing the layout about 3 weeks before. However, the movie changed dramatically.
Oh, wow.
So that's always a problem, because then we're working with different versions, and they, you can already write something and then they cut the whole scene, or
things moved around, I remember, in that one, and it gets also more messy when that happens. So it's far from ideal, but it still was the best solution at that point, I think, that we started early and did it that way. But that's extreme. 8 days is extreme, and then we're very fortunate that we're with the two of us, because we can divvy that up. And so if you're alone, that would be that would be really, really tough, I think. Yeah.
Does having more time for a project equal higher quality result?
I think it depends how much time. There's a good amount of time. I think a month is good, because it pushes us enough. There's enough adrenaline going that we're focused, and we get it done. When the timeline is really tight, then that's definitely more difficult. And sometimes it can be so short that you feel like you don't get the quality up the way you'd like it.
Yeah.
For sure. If it's really that short, you start to wonder, okay, is this good enough? Which is of course not really the quality that you're aiming for, but you have your calendar there, how long it takes and how many minutes still have to be scored. So then it's just like, okay, I think they will like this, and then you move on to the next one. Not because we want to write less than the best music, but it's just the reality of the business. At some point you just need to move on. So it's definitely also something I really had to learn to do that, because for me, being a performer and being kind of a perfectionist, I guess, as good as I can get my performances up, I would spend a lot of time to prepare my shows really well, or at least the best as I can. And in this case, there's just not time for it. So you have to kind of let go and make sure you can finish these cues, all these different cues that we have to do, so that you can move on and deliver. Because in the end, the deadline is really important in this business. It's usually a multi-million-dollar enterprise, and you cannot really screw that part up of it. You have to have a very, very good reason for that to not work out. So,
and there's so many pieces, all with their own deadlines that all have to line up, and it's quite the production. Is composing for film similar in ways to writing a song? And what I mean is, when I go to write a song, or a songwriter goes to write a song, there's often moments of inspiration that take over, and maybe something that would normally take you a month to write just flowed out of you, and there it is. And you're like, wow, look at it, it's all so easy, and it's inspiration being in the moment with it, letting something flow through, are these things that also happen in film composition?
I think for sure. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think they happen, of course, and of course there are also times where that isn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe the thing that's a bit different is because of the time pressure, we just need to be at work all the time.
Yeah.
And usually when we're at work, it will come. But some days it just doesn't come. We still have to be there because that timeline is there.
It's good, again, that we're working together, because often when one person gets stuck, the other person comes in and says, well, why don't you try this?
Yeah.
Or even sometimes we'll switch. We both have our own setup, but sometimes we switch around. It's like, okay, you work on mine, I'll work on yours.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And then we'll get a little further. And then sometimes it's just that little extra push that you need from the other person, or those extra chords or the percussion in there, and suddenly that brings on new ideas.
Yeah, and you must really trust each other to be able to switch seats and go,
Right.
you work on what I've been pouring myself into. Yeah. And how do you guys have a specific way that you typically divide the creative labor, or?
We usually just divide it up here. You start with the first 10 minutes, I'll do the next 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But if there is a certain scene that I think Erik will be better at, then I say, why don't you take this one? So we often, and vice versa.
So what does that mean? Like, what would a scene need to have for you to think, oh, Erik might be better at this one?
Sometimes the ones with a lot of percussion, because I find that these big percussion moments, Erik just seems to know. You just because you've had a lot of work with percussion and
Yeah, I've done more, maybe more bands and orchestral work than you have as a pianist, but vice versa too. I mean, if I want to have this piano part that I wrote, I want it to sound really good, then there's a perfect pianist sitting there.
Yeah.
I ask her to play it in so it sounds a little bit more pianistic. And I think your strength is also these emotional cues that you're doing. And I like doing them too, by the way, and I want to get better at them for sure. But I think I often say, well, why don't you that? Because I know that you will do that well. And there are certain things that we that have certain strengths. But to repeat this, I guess, but I do think that we try to do all of it. We should be able to write any cue that we want to do.
Yeah. And have you ever added music to a scene and then gotten goosebumps because of what you've created with the visuals?
Yeah, I think so. I think in that scene that you did, it was a very emotional scene when the mother was reading a letter of her daughter who had died, and that was really.
Yeah, that was hard, and it wasn't even my. I don't think it was even my writing. It was not even that. It just kind of came together, and I just started crying. Well, I mean, tears in my eyes. Crying is maybe a little much, but I had tears in my eyes, and I couldn't do more at that moment with that cue. It took me about 5 times repeated seeing it, and before I was able to move on. And it was just that I watched the scene first, and then I started scoring, and I thought, okay, this I think this is gonna work. And I watched the whole thing, and I was like, oh my God, this is a really emotional part of the movie. And my score was light, by the way. It was not in any way overbearing. It was just in the background. It didn't do anything special, but I guess it hit a nerve with myself. It's like, oh my gosh, this just really works. So that does occasionally work, but happen, but not that often.
Yeah. And do you guys remember the first time that you saw your music on screen? Do you remember what that was like, how that felt?
What was the first time that we saw it? Maybe after our very first TV movie? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think maybe when we started scoring, at the very beginning when we were taking the courses.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you think that we definitely had those moments?
Definitely. Really exhilarating just to see, like, wow, I wrote this music and it really brought out the scene. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So that was.
And when you saw that and felt that, was it reassuring, like, oh, this is something I want to do?
For sure. And you want to do more and more of it. Like, oh, and it's quite amazing how you can take the same scene, because in our courses at Berkeley College, they would give us a scene, and then you'd get to see everybody scoring this scene completely differently, and it was quite amazing to see how it would bring out different things in the emotion.
That would be fascinating.
I think that had a big influence on us. I haven't really thought back that much, but now that I think back, those were real eye-opening moments. Like, oh, we love doing this.
Yeah.
We want to do more of that. That might have even, those courses were very valuable. Yeah.
When you guys look back at those times that you were just saying, Jackie, where you hear how many different people scored the same scene, when you were sitting there as a class, was it obvious which? I mean, there couldn't be a correct, like, this is the one that wins. This is the one that works the best. This is the one that had, brought the most life to the scene. But was there sort of something like that? Was there a sort of general agreement about which one maybe a producer would have moved forward with?
I think the courses were not so much in a group. We would just do it online. We would listen ourselves online. There was just such a variety of levels, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe a lot of people who didn't have a lot of music experience, so you'd think, I think they need a little more work. And other ones that, like, wow, this really, this really works.
So, I mean, I guess if we step out of the classroom for a minute, but just philosophically, do you believe that putting music to film, is this a subjective thing, or can you match it so well that anyone watching it would be like, this is objectively the music for that scene? Is that possible?
Do you mind if I answer that a little bit? I think there's probably 1,000 ways of doing that music right and doing the scene justice. It depends all on what's envisioned, and there's a lot of flexibility. I think more than you'd think. I often use this thing. I say, okay, well, there's 1,000 things to do this thing right. There's a million ways of getting it wrong. And that's kind of the thing that we work in between. It's like we can't have it in the wrong part. So maybe this instrument doesn't fit because that doesn't actually make sense for this scene, or maybe this emotion isn't the right one. But there's many ways to. I mean, we've worked so much together now that we kind of have a similar style almost. That it has to be similar because it has to fit the film. So the style comes easily, but had we been different people, and you probably compose a little different than I do, neither one would be wrong. They would be different, but they'd be hopefully the right thing. Just because you just search for it until you have it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and in the same strain of thought there, if there's 1,000 right ways, how do you know when it's done? How do you know when you've gotten one of those ways?
How do you know it's done?
The producer basically decides when it's done.
Yeah.
But we have to bring it to a certain level before we send it to them, and they might have a few changes. But
is that just the clock? Like you ran out of time, so this is it, or like this is ready?
We'll work it until it's until we feel that it's up to a certain standard. If it's not ready, then we will stay up all night and get that thing until it's right. Yeah. Because we never want to send something that's we don't feel is the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's well said.
Sense. Yeah. And as a couple, I mean, as a partnership in marriage and business now, it sounds like you guys have really found a rhythm, and you're very blessed that you work in similar ways. What does it look like what are the challenges of being in partnership in multiple ways? What does that look like?
I think I think you feel the same about it, but I think it's going quite organically, and it's a joy to be working together. We're back to back essentially. I mean, let's imagine that she's sitting right there on her workstation, I'm sitting back there on my workstation, and we work on our own when we're doing our own cue. But if we need feedback or help, then we're always there for one another. And that's a really good thing, because we're often dealing with tunnel vision or maybe fears that we're not on the right track, or we have a bit of a writer's block. I don't know how to go any further with this bit. And then the other person is always there. So that is, it's been 99% positive, so to speak. Of course, there are also times where we maybe a bit disagree on certain things, but they have been very few.
I think mainly if we do disagree, it's when we're really tired and one person says, okay, this needs, you need to change this, and the other one's like, but I thought I was done. I'm pretty tired and I don't want to. But we will somehow make that work. That's usually when the other person goes in and takes over for a while. And then, the original person will go out and have a break or something, and then come back in, and then we work it together.
Do you guys find that it's surprising that you both have very different musical backgrounds in some ways, in terms of your instruments and whatnot? Do you find it surprising that you work so well together? And that's like, how did the two perspectives, you're building one project that needs to have a unified voice when you present it to the producer? Is it?
Yeah, well, I think because we've worked for 10 years now together, the first few years we were actually sharing a workstation, and that was much more difficult. That did not work as well. And then we got our own workstations. Sorry, what was the question?
It's like, are you surprised at how well you work together?
I think because we also learned the styles of the movies together. Like each network has its own style, and we had to learn those things by watching, say, the Lifetime. We watched the Lifetime movies together. Okay, how these have to sound a certain way. We can have our own way as well, but it has to fall into those parameters of the Lifetime. So we learned it together, and we got the instruments together, we got the libraries together, and we learned to work with them together. And we're always together. Let's face it, for better or for worse. So we our lives overlap so much. I think that is that fair to say that it's just became natural. To us, it's just like the way it's always been in that 10 years, pretty much. Would you think? Yeah. And maybe it was a little harder on that one workstation where we tried to figure things out and things didn't work out, and we were more irritable, I think, than we are now. Don't you think? Yeah, much better now.
And I suppose that if 10 years ago that was the first day of any partnership between the two of you, it might have been more difficult. But like you're saying, you guys were partners for long before that in other ways. And so then you both have superpowers. But what I'm hearing now is that one superpower that you guys both might have is that you're able to let go of any sort of musical identity that you bring to the table in the name of creating the right music for the project, which that sounds like a common goal that you are both able to give yourselves over to, and leave some of your own stuff at the door if you need to, your own.
I don't think there's really another way to be a film composer, because as a film composer, you constantly have to, I fit in is maybe not the right word, but you constantly have to adapt, I guess. You have to constantly adapt to the project that's at hand, and each project is different, and there's something else that they ask. And so you have to be a bit of a chameleon to be able to do this job, because if you hold on too strong on what it should be or what your heart tells you it is all the time while other voices say something different, you somehow have to find find it, what it is they're looking for, and that you still can feel honest about.
Yeah,
that your
that's right.
creativity isn't lost just because they want something else. You just have to dig a little longer and deeper to find it.
Yeah, no, you said it all. You said it right.
Okay. And we're great. You guys do work well together. This is good. In this industry, do you need to, or is it even more important in this industry than others perhaps to remain detached from what you create? In terms of getting the feedback and having to, switch something up, do you find that you have to always keep a little bit of detachment to what you've created?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
I
think
wouldn't
so.
call it detachment
Yeah.
personally, but
But you have to know that the producer you're working with might have a different idea of what they want, and
Right.
if you know, particularly if they're picky, or if they have certain ideas, then they might come back and say, I want something completely different, and you have to be ready for that. So, I guess.
I guess it depends a little bit on what you mean by detached, but I guess ultimately you become attached to the score that you end up writing. It's just you can't be too attached to the initial.
On the way to it.
It's if you start something and they don't like it, well, you just move on. You just write another piece.
Yeah.
You write a better one, at least in their eyes. And it might not be better. If we don't know who will judge it, but if they think it's better, or he or she thinks it's better, then you just do it. It's our job. We're supposed to love composing, so we'll just write another piece.
That's right, yeah.
And most of the time, I find it does get better. Sometimes we see,
That's good to notice, yeah.
they have a certain idea and they want something totally different. And at first we're like, oh, but it worked so well. But then we realize after, oh, actually this works better. They're right. So we also learn that they do know what they're talking about.
Right. They might not be specialists in music necessarily, but they're specialists in film. They know how the film is supposed to work and what they want it to do, what they want the music to do for that film. And if that's not happening, then it doesn't matter if you've got the wrong chords, or it's just you just got to rewrite it and try to find what it is that they're looking for.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Because I'm sure you guys have both heard the term "married to the demo." It's like usually when songwriters lay down a quick demo and then they just fall in love with it and then they actually go to build it out, and they can't hear what improvement might be like because they just love the first thing they wrote. But it sounds like for you guys, the demo is never the end product, so that you're always, that that's just one step along 100 steps to get to where you have to get to. But have you ever found yourself fighting for what you've already made? Or is it, when you listen to what you've made and you look at the screen, you're like, this is really doing it. This is really working here. And the producer's like, sorry guys, we need to do something completely different. Is there room in that space to speak up and say, I think you're wrong, in the most diplomatic way and professional way? Or is it like, no, we got to get back to work?
I think there's room to have that conversation, but you got to be really certain it's also the right thing, because you can't have those conversations constantly. There's just not enough time in the world for it, and probably producers wouldn't want to do that too often.
Again.
So I guess you got to pick your battles. But I think if you have a really strong case and you can explain it also verbally what you're trying to do, then I'm sure there's room to bring it up. But like you said, diplomatically is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I guess with so little time, it's about efficiency so often. I think. Leo Award. Did that? What did that mean to you? We kind of spoke about that already, but did that change anything about your visibility, or the way that you worked, or your network?
The Leo Award came before we had ever scored any TV movies.
That must have been surprising, hey?
Yeah.
Right, so early in your career, and
it was really exciting. So, I don't know if it had any effect. It's possible.
Love to see with this next one then.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. I don't want to jinx anything. Yeah. Okay. And how about how do you approach scoring a drama or a gardening film and a thriller differently? I know you said that there's no problem in jumping between the two. Is there a different approach?
Yeah, I think so, quite a bit.
Yeah.
There's just a different arc for the whole program if it's a thriller or a garden show. Like I think for a garden show, for example, and we've done many by now, there's an opening to it, and then things move on, and there's a closing end, but it doesn't work the same way as in a thriller, which you can probably imagine. Like a thriller there are certain stages in that film where really something is expected from the music. If you don't bring that to the table, it's not going to happen. Where in the garden show, things are just more, it just kind of moves on. There's can be neutral, it can be enhancing, it can do a lot of things, but there's not this real what do you call it, building of tension. They are just quite different, and that takes a little bit of figuring that out at the beginning when you do your first one. It's like, okay, well, how do we make that happen? But then once you realize, then you ask yourself the question constantly, like, well, where are we in the film? Where should it be? Like, let's say if it's from 1 to 5, are we, or in the middle? The tension should probably be at 3. Are we getting closer to the end? So is it 4? If this is the sort of the final battle scene, okay, we're at 5. That means something for a composer, so that you know how to anticipate. Then the percussion will come out for the
That's always
so that's where I may have to jump in.
Right.
They're significantly different in that way. But just sitting down and composing, it's still the same. It's still the same. You're still working with the same creative process in many ways. That you just need to get these notes on not notes on the page, but MIDI notes into the DAW.
I imagine that maybe more than other creative processes, you really need to live in the heart of the emotional core of what you're doing, of what you're scoring. And do you have to live there? You probably live there even when you leave the studio. Hey, do you live there in the middle of the night when you're trying to sleep? Like, is it something you bring with you while you're doing the project?
Yeah, we talk about it a lot too. Maybe in this part it needs to be more, and maybe, I think so. Yeah, we're living with it all the time, kind of in our heads.
I also think it's really important to really understand the movie well, right? First time you watch it, you just get a general feeling about it, but you gotta understand the psychology of the movie to be able to fill in that, to bring in those right emotions that you feel will enhance the movie or just make it better in some fashion. So you need to know the movie inside out, what it means, what's the meaning of it to you, and then you can bring in layers of sophistication, I guess, where that movie really comes alive. And to me, that's fantastic. If you can find that, it's like, okay, well, this moment, this character is saying this, but I think the person is actually thinking something else. How do we address that in music? Can we find a way that there is something in there, maybe some tension in the music that will bring that out? And so you're trying to find that layer below of what's going on, so the psychological layer, so to speak.
Right, so especially when we first get the movie, we talk over all these places and we make notes of, we want to really bring out this. And
Well, that's really interesting. I'm just getting right now how much we learn about the characters and the story through the music. But when you guys first get the film, there's no music there.
There's a temp track.
Okay. Tell me about the temp track.
Well, the producers will put in music. It can be all over the place. It can be something that they've really thought of if they've had time, and they work with an editor and put music in that's very close to what they're looking for. Or sometimes they just stick in anything and they say, don't listen to the temp track. This is just where we want the music to start and stop.
Gotcha.
And so we have to know how close we're supposed to stick to that temp track.
Gotcha.
But there is almost always music. There's just been once in the documentary that we scored that there hasn't been music, and that we're just supposed to decide where it's going to go and and put our own music in there.
Very cool. I forget when it was, but I remember watching something once, maybe it was on YouTube, that showed a film with the soundtrack, with the composition in the background, and then they cut it out just so you could kind of get present to the difference of the two. And the dialogue was still there, but the music was gone. And it was profound. Like, the impact was, I didn't even want to watch it anymore, you know? The emotional engagement was gone for me. And yet, of course, silence is really important in film as well. And how do you guys work with silence, or what does that mean to you? When they say, hey, we need music here, are there moments, I mean, even just between notes, where you're like, oh, this needs to be stretched out, this silence? Or...
Yeah, I think within a cue, within a section where you're playing music, it's usually you're on or off, I think, for the most part. Or I'm sure there's exceptions, but usually the music is a cohesive section that you're scoring.
Yeah.
So silent, otherwise it would feel too much like what we call in the industry Mickey Mousing, where, you know, with all the Mickey Mousers, if I don't know, what's a good example of Mickey Mousing? I can't think of it right now. But if something happens and then there's a certain instrument that
like cartoons.
Yeah. So we've all seen the cartoons, and somebody gets hit and you hear a drum and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's something happening in this particular time in the film, and you stop the music because the car stops.
Right, yeah.
That could happen, but usually that doesn't really work so well. So usually within a cue, it's more cohesive, but there's definitely good reason to have a lot of silence as well, or have silence around it. It's nice to have the contrast about certain scenes that do get the music, and usually they're the more important scenes, I would argue. And usually other scenes that don't need the music, it's more explaining what's happening in the story. Okay. But if something is kind of shifting, that's often where the music comes in. It comes in and works the unconscious part. That's stuff that you don't really hear, but it's there. That's where it starts to do its work. And so having that balance is really nice.
Yeah, and I imagine that even if you don't reduce it down to a complete silence, there's still space, and I imagine when composing a thriller, that would be particularly important as well. I just imagine all the scenes from my favorite thriller movies, and how, you know, things rise up, and then you think it's gone, but there's just like something, just one singular instrument in the background holding it down. But yeah,
those are the most fun ones to write.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
You can be a little bit more experimental too, as to what will work and what will not work. That's a little bit more trial and error about handling that suspense. And yeah, I guess that what you were saying, that was, maybe there are a few moments where you can play with, is there music or is there no music? Those are the particular spots for sure. And
of course, those spots silence would never be what was needed unless there was music on either side of them, you know. But okay, so let's jump just for a minute away from the creative process of it all and just talk about the business side for a second. When people watch a video like this one that they'll watch, some people will be like, oh, I really want to get into this as well. What do they need to know about the business side of things that maybe you guys didn't know when you first stepped into this world?
That it takes a lot of networking. It all goes by people that you know, relationships.
Right.
That's one of the main things that I didn't know.
Sure. Oh, well, the other part is, of course, also that you need to be
actively working all the time. Even when you're not on a movie, you need to be working on your website, the social media, going to festivals, or working
Yeah.
away.
No, that's true. And the other part of it is, I think, that you need to also be really ready with your music. So you need to be at a level where you are essentially proud of what you produced and being able to hand that out to people, either send them the emails with your music. So that needs to be also in place, because it's one thing to be wanting to compose, but you have to have something to show for, obviously. And ideally those are the credits. But if you don't have those credits yet, then you just want to have your demo reel is highly valuable to have one that they can appreciate.
It's the first thing they're going to ask you is, send us your reel.
Right.
Yeah, so that has to be.
Do you think that, I mean, everyone's improving all the time, and a demo reel that you put together today won't be as good as the one you put together 10 years from now. But do you feel that this industry in particular is, the first impression is more important than maybe other industries?
I'm not sure. I think you keep sending them your new reels,
Okay.
so hopefully they listen and
Right.
they see that you're improving. But I guess everybody goes through the same thing. I mean, nobody's going to start off just brilliantly.
No.
Yeah, it just takes time, and so resending a new reel is just totally fine. Yeah. Yeah.
How important is location? You know, a lot of people in my world, when they were like, okay, well, you want to be a songwriter, well, you got to go to Nashville, got to go to LA. Like, Canada, maybe Toronto, maybe. How important is location for your work?
I think it has changed a little bit. I think it used to be that if you're in these centers, that there was the only way to go about it. I think it has, especially since COVID and since Zoom became such a big thing, or such a normal thing, I should say, it has changed quite a bit. And so for the movies that we score, we talk to all kinds of people from all over the world all the time. The producers can be easily in LA or London or what have you. And the Zoom calls make it happen. So that's a big difference. The advantage, of course, if you are in a big city is that your contacts are closer, and it's easier to spend time with people that you think are worthwhile spending time with. You can meet them easier.
That's right.
But yeah, there's definitely the world has changed a little bit in that way, for sure. Yeah. You can do a lot just from a little studio in Victoria, right here at House of Owl.
That's right.
And so you don't have to be in the big towns.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on in BC, and
Right.
with the tax credits, they need BC people to be scoring their films and working on all
That's
of the other
right.
parts of the film. So yeah.
And how about the location in terms of an influence on your work and what you write? Do you think Victoria, as a location, has an effect on what you write?
Haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's of course a beautiful city. It's got a good climate. It's got good people living here.
Yeah.
It's got a symphony, which is kind of important. We sometimes draw from musicians to play recordings with us. Yeah, Victoria has a lot going for itself. So, and in that sense, it's a great place to live, right?
Yes.
So that also, when we both walk to work, so it's about a half-hour walk. When you can do that in a place where you feel comfortable, and that's a good influence, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay, but so we're almost out of time here. It's just blazed by, but a couple more questions that we can't end without asking. So, is there a project that you're most proud of that you've worked on, and why?
Well, for me, I can't really pick one. I would say it's our last two projects that I'm most proud of are the last season of Visionary Gardeners, which is actually playing every Monday right now.
Oh, cool.
That's one, and we recorded marimba for that, and I felt that was just one of our best. The other one was To Catch a Cheater, and that's our latest thriller. Again, I think just because our level keeps going up every time we score something, that I felt really good about that one.
Yeah, I agree about that one. That last one, we we just, like you said, we feel we're still improving, and it starts to become easier too. We're not, struggling to find the right voice. It just now comes more naturally, especially with thrillers. Well, also with garden shows,
and
actually.
That one had a lot of emotion to it. It was about the death of this girl, but at the same time, they wanted it to be about teenagers and bubbling on the surface, and not taken too much into the despair of the whole thing, the sadness. They didn't want it to be too sad, so it was quite a good one to score, and I thought the acting was quite good. Yeah.
Oh, that's super cool.
And for you, what did you think?
Well, I think that movie is good too. I think the other part that I'm really proud of was our first one. So our first one that we scored was called, Sins in the Family. Yes. And I'm proud of that because it was the first big project we did, and you in the back of your head there's this little voice that says, well, can you really do this? Can you pull this off?
Yeah.
And then when we did pull that off, that felt really good. So in that sense, I'm proud of it, or happy that moment happened. I knew there was a way forward with it after that, and I think they were quite happy with the score as far as I remember. And since then we've done a dozen more. So
I love that there's pride in this room for one of the first major projects and the most recent ones. That's super cool. The other thing that I'm getting from you guys is that you've been doing this for a while now, but I'm getting the energy from you that you're still very excited about it. And when the new project comes in, it's like a whole nother world that can light you up, just as if it was the first project with new challenges. And so what's next for Oak Bay Studios? What's the future look like?
We want to just do as many movies as we can. We want to do more. We'd love to get onto Netflix. I mean, these are things we would like to do. We're also working on sync libraries, and we've got some commercial work lined up right now that we're going to be doing.
There's a little pause right now, and it was just like last year where in the spring, sort of late spring, we have time to catch up with our lives. But usually July, August, things start to come up. A lot of the time it's kind of last minute. Somebody would just get in touch with us a few weeks before they need a composer. We're at the end of the process, so we're often we're often asked at the last minute. It's like, okay, we need a composer still for this movie. Has this been arranged? No. Okay, who's available? And then start phoning around, and then that's where hope we're part of the people that they're asking. So
of course. Just for a minute, can you tell me about these sync libraries? Is this like a music that you write and then people on projects can go and just buy it online, or?
Do you want me to talk about it? Sure. Yeah. That's what it is. So you just we call them albums at this point, but we've worked on a mystery one, and we're going to work on a Christmas / hip hop one with a friend of ours.
Cool.
So they go into these massive libraries essentially, where producers or whoever can go in and pick tracks if they don't want to work with a composer for whatever reason. This might be budget reasons or whatever, or they need something quick. Then they can find the music that they like, and they'll cut or chop it up in a way that it fits their project.
Right.
And then so we don't really work to a brief in that sense, but we just compose with a certain idea in mind. So the one was the mystery album idea, and the other one was the Christmas and hip hop combo.
Christmas hip hop combo.
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic. I gotta hear that stuff. It's good.
Yeah, we too.
We just started it.
It's fresh.
I'm excited to hear it. Can you just tell me how did you land on Christmas hip hop?
We wanted to work with another composer. We've been sort of communicating with this other composer because he's interested in also doing some Christmas movies. And we said, well,
Alexander Ferguson.
Right, Alexander Ferguson. And we said, well, why don't we do a sync library together, and then we know how we work together.
Smart.
And he says, well, my specialty is hip hop. Could we put some hip hop in there, and let's just make it hip hop Christmas. So I'm like, okay, and so it's going to be also orchestral hip hop Christmas. So we'll see. We'll see what comes out of that.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. That's great. Okay, so if people want to learn more about you guys and what you're up to, where can they find you online?
Oak Bay Studios, go ahead.
Oakbaystudios.com. Yeah.
Okay, oakbaystudios.com. Great. And finally, last question. Tell me what is important to you guys right now. Not what has been important to you over your lives, but in this last period of time, maybe a week, maybe today, what is important to you? Yeah. Didn't send you guys that question.
When we're on projects, there's a lot of pressure, I think, to get things done. And there's not so much me time or you time. I think when we're off, it's good to take some me time and to have some, where you can breathe for a while and get things back onto track. I think that, if I can speak for myself, that's for me at the moment really important, that I just get grounded again. Because I know there are gonna be films coming up, and it's gonna get a little mad here and there. So just preparing for that so that I'm ready for that and not completely overwhelmed by it, which could be the case if you're not careful. You're not taking care of oneself.
That's right.
How about you, Jackie?
Yeah, for sure. When you're rested, then you can feel really excited about that next project that's going to come and put all your energy into it. Because that's what usually happens. It's kind of funny, when we're off of a project, we sometimes go into these lows where we just have no energy. And then as soon as a new project comes up, we've got all the energy in the world, and it's just, the adrenaline is going. It's just running on pure adrenaline, I think. And
absolutely.
but you certainly need that rest time in between, or else you're just going to burn out. So it's really important.
Yeah, I think that's great. And it's always interesting that desire, and you want to do more. You still want to do more because it is full of energy, and it's that's what life can feel like, but also we need to rest. We need to rest. Thanks for sharing that. And thanks for hanging out with me. Appreciate it.
Great, loved it.
Great to hear more about what you guys are up to. So thank you. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys again. Thanks for connecting. Thank you to Telus, to Haus of Owl, and to Oak Bay Studios. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Now here's the thing. This is the best part of the show, where I stand up and you guys stay there. And while I go to turn off this camera and we're still live streaming, you just get to sit awkwardly and wait for me to do this. So there we go. Okay.